Yeah, so as I was talking about this story of how um, God took me out of that situation when I'd made a choice to get into a relationship which was not good for me. I mean, I went there with my eyes open. And I knew because God showed me, no, this is not the man for you. But I said, no, God, I want this relationship. And God said, no. And I'm like, but God, we can make it work. I pray for this guy. I'm an intercessor, for goodness sake. I can pray and this guy can change. But God is saying, no, it's not about that. This guy is not for you. And even when I went back to Zimbabwe that time from my mission trip, um, I was supposed to go to Scotland that time as well to um, to do my School of Intercessory Prayer. But then before I left, God had spoken to me about that. So in my heart, I knew I was supposed to go there. But when I got there and got into the relationship with this guy, and then we started making plans of me coming back and things going on. And then what happened was I applied for the visa and then they denied me. And I was like, but God, what is going on? So I went with a friend and we're fasting and praying. After I've left this guy and asked God, and I'm like, what happened? And God said, no, but I couldn't have let you go while you were still in the relationship because you would have come back to it as well. So, yeah, we had to wait until you came to your senses. So I was like, oh, God, you should have made that clear to me, in the first place. Yeah, but I'd made my choice. I chose to do it, even though I knew in my heart it was wrong. And I know that there are many people sometimes you choose to do it. Even those times when you choose to uh, have a relationship that is not good and you know in your heart, but you're just getting pulled into it for your own reasons. I don't know what it is. Or you decide to do other stuff or go somewhere where you know this is out of the will of God because inside the Holy Spirit convicts us and He shows us that this is not where it's supposed to be. But sometimes we just do it. And like that, I did it knowingly against the Lord, trying, thinking that I could convince God to do what I wanted, and but God is not like that. And so after I left, and I went to Bulawayo. Now I'm stuck. I don't have a job, and I'm not only. I'm at home now. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I have no one to look after me. Yeah, and while in that space, I was so broken, and in that place of brokenness, I had so much regret and guilt. And I'm like, how could I do this? How could I have been so stupid? I mean, this was so obvious. I wasn't supposed to be with this guy. What's wrong with me? Why was I, into it? And I kept regretting. I was in that space for 8 months. 8 months in that space of regret, of I didn't even like seek God and pray, and my children and my stepsister I lived with, she would also like, yeah, just look at me and I don't think anyone could help me. But one day I woke up and I said to myself, enough is enough. I can't go on like this. I had come to a place where I had nothing, nothing, totally nothing. And sometimes many a time I didn't even have even soap or that kind of thing. And my young sister struggled just to help me as well. It was quite a difficult time for her as well, because sometimes you would rather have relatives who have their own things and who can look after themselves. Life is better. But if someone comes and lives in your house and they have nothing and they can't help you, it's quite sad, to be like that. And so after that, I got up one day and I said, you know what? Enough is enough. And I got up early and bathed, and I went to my church. In the church that I went to, they had lots of rooms because they had a Bible college running. So I went into one of the rooms and I just started praying. I said, God, my life has been derailed by me, not by anybody else, by the wrong choices. Because the first thing is always take responsibility of your own errors. And I started repenting and asking God to put my life back again, because without Him, my life was nothing. And I knew that right where I was not the right place to be. And so I did that. The first week, I continued every day. I went there at 9 and I left there at 5 when they closed offices, and I would leave. So I left. So the next Tuesday, we always had like prayer on Tuesdays in the evenings. So I go to um, the evening prayer. So I'm sitting there, and the pastor is about to preach, and he calls me forward and he says, I have a word for you. And he says to me, you know, you are forgiven. God says to you, you are forgiven. The devil is a liar. You have been forgiven. You've been forgiven. And and he prays for me. And something lifts off from me. And it's been like this heavy burden of guilt and I think shame was in there, and you know, all these things on me. Something lifted, and that gave me hope. And so the next week I continued, prayed again, 9 to 5, 9 to 5 daily. When I say 9 to 5, I mean 9 to 5, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I was there reading the word, reading God's promises, reminding God of the prophetic words that have been spoken over my life, crying out to God to restore me. And then the second week, you know, after that week, then I went again to the Tuesday prayer. This pastor did not know what was happening with me, that I was praying and what I was praying into. He didn't even know my situation. So when I was about to preach again, he calls me and he says to me, God says He's restoring you. He's restoring you sevenfold. And what He will do in your life is amazing. And he got the whole church to stretch out their hands and says, cry, restore, cry, restore. And they cried out, restore, restore. And he prayed for me. I promise you, before I left that place, even my countenance had changed. When now, because of the pressure that was on me and because of lack as well and everything put together, I was looking like, wow, like poverty itself, you know. But something shifted that night. And I went back home. And I promise you, the next day, I'm not sure whether it was the next day or the next few days, I got an email. And through that email, God started restoring me and putting me back into my place, which I'd lost because of the wrong choices. So I want to encourage you today. If you are in a place where you're not supposed to be, and the conviction of the Holy Spirit has been going on in your heart, you know where you're at. And when God speaks to you, you know when it's not right. Ask for God's help. He will get you out. He's always willing to help us. Don't let the guilt and the shame and, you know, and the pain of it to take you away from God. Run to Him and ask His help. And He will help you. He always does. And He will take you back.